If you've been feeling heaviness or pressure in your pelvic area and you've been telling yourself it'll probably just go away, this video is for you. A lot of women feel this way for months and sometimes even years before they get any real information about what's going on. And what you don't know can quietly start changing how you live your life day to day. So that's what we're going to talk about today. What pelvic pressure can mean, how symptoms can slowly start affecting more than just your body, and what supportive next steps actually look like. I'm not going to include medical jargon, no worst case scenario talk. I'm really just going to talk to you about my honest experience. So, pelvic pressure usually doesn't arrive all at once. For a lot of women, it can start really subtly. There can be a little bit of heaviness after a long walk, maybe a dragging sensation by the end of the day, pressure that shows up during a workout, or just that feeling that something doesn't quite feel right anymore. And at first, it can be really easy to brush this off. Maybe you're postpartum and your body's still recovering, or you're in perimenopause and everything feels like it's shifting, or you're just exhausted. You've been carrying kids or grandkids and laundry baskets, groceries, and a whole lot of stress, and you assume that your body is just tired. Life moves on, and so you move on too. That's actually a big part of why so many women live with pelvic floor symptoms for months or even years or decades before they get any support. It's not because they're ignoring themselves on purpose, but it's because pelvic health is still so under discussed that a lot of women genuinely don't know what their symptoms might be pointing to. Now, I want to be clear. Pelvic pressure has a lot of possible causes, and I'm not here to diagnose anything. But one thing that it can sometimes be connected to is something called pelvic organ prolapse. What that means in plain language is that the pelvic organs, your bladder, your uterus, or your rectum, they sit in this hammock of muscles and they can shift downward when the tissue and muscles and ligaments that normally hold them in place become weakened or stretched. This can often happen after childbirth, during perimenopause or menopause, or just over times as our bodies change in age. And I want to say something about that. Pelvic organ prolapse is incredibly common. When doctors examine women who have children, studies have found that up to half show some degree of prolapse, though for many of them it is very mild and they may not even know that they have it. Having symptoms does not mean that your body is broken. For some, there can be birth injuries where there truly is something that was damaged. And then in other cases, it can just be that there are changes. And in either case, your support and the way you're going about things may need to change along with it. So, what I want you to take away from this section is simple. Pelvic pressure is worth paying attention to. Not because it's scary, but because when you understand what's happening, you can actually do something about it. Here's the thing about pelvic pressure. For most women, it doesn't suddenly become severe overnight. It's more like your life quietly starts rearranging itself around the symptoms, and you don't even notice it happening until one day you look back up and then you realize how much space this has taken up. This can be mental space, physical space. It is crazy how much it can take over your life sometimes. This can be that you start skipping certain workouts because they leave you uncomfortable afterwards or during. You feel this huge sense of relief the moment that you finally get to sit down at the end of the day. You might avoid jumping or running or lifting or anything like that is like especially heavier than it needs to be. You might start wearing tighter leggings because they feel a little more supportive, even though you're not totally sure why. You think about the bathroom and having access to one before every outing, every trip, every time that you leave the house. And if you're a mom chasing a toddler, you might hesitate before picking them up just for a second, but you hesitate because you know that when you're picking up that 30-pound, 40-pound child, it can exacerbate what you're feeling. If you're in your 60s or your 70s, maybe you started saying no to the walking trips that you used to love, or you're calculating how long you'll have to be on your feet before you commit to anything. And here's what I want to really talk to you about because it really doesn't get discussed enough. It's not just this physical discomfort, it is the mental real estate that these symptoms start to take up. Wondering if you'll feel okay halfway through an event, mentally calculating how long you'll be standing before you even leave the house. Feeling distracted during a workout because you're focused on those symptoms instead of being there and being present in your body. And another key thing that I really try to explain to people is that when your body is functioning as it's supposed to, you don't think about it. You walk around the block, you go to the store, you do all these things that I don't think about. My arm, my feet, my legs. When you have heaviness in your pelvis and it's symptomatic, it is top of mind all the time. You can't do hardly anything without that feeling of heaviness and dragging and pressure just constantly being at the front of your mind. And until you experience it, it is really hard to explain how impactful that is to your quality of life. And so a key thing here is figuring out what kind of support that you can get to help mitigate these symptoms. It's not to say that these things can be immediately fixed, but with certain things, having the right support can really make all the difference. One woman in our community described it as feeling like she had almost forgot that she had prolapse when she had the right support. Almost forgetting. That's what becomes possible when you just stop pushing through and work to get the right team and tool set around you. Because the goal is never to be hyper aware of your body all day. The goal is to feel supported enough so that you can be present and enjoy your life. And something that I hear a lot is that I managed okay for years and then suddenly things felt different. Usually it wasn't actually sudden. The body's been compensating for a long time. And then there's something that finally tips that balance. This could be hormonal shifts during perimenopause or menopause, a season of heavier lifting and not doing it properly, constipation that went on for too long, chronic stress, long days on your feet. All of these things can come together and affect how supported the pelvic floor actually feels. And understanding that is actually really useful because it means that symptoms can get better too when we address what's contributing to them. One thing that genuinely helps here is starting to pay attention to your own patterns. When do symptoms feel better? When do they feel worse? Is it tied to your cycle if you still have one, to long days, standing, to exercise? That information is really valuable, especially if you're ever going to talk to a provider about what you're experiencing. We have a free symptom tracker at hemsupportwear.com, and I'll link it in the description below. It is a simple PDF, it is completely free, and it is a great place to start if you've been wanting to pause and get a handle on what your body is doing day to day. One of the biggest misconceptions that I run into is that the only options are to ignore your symptoms or to jump straight into surgery, or that maybe something just isn't there's not a solution for you. And that is just not true. There's a really wide middle ground. And for most women, that middle ground is where everything actually starts to happen and click. The most common thing I hear from women is that after they find out about pelvic organ prolapse or pelvic floor dysfunction, they wish that someone would have told them sooner. Education takes away so much of the fear and the confusion. I always say that knowledge is power. Understanding what's happening in your body in plain language can change how you feel about it. And that's a big part of why we create these videos and blog posts and resources, because the information that women deserve should be easier to find. I was completely blindsided by all of this when I experienced it for the first time, and I just want other women to not have that same experience that I did. So if you haven't already, a pelvic floor PT is one of the best things that you can do for yourself. They can help you understand what's actually contributing to your symptoms and what strategies can help, and give you a really personalized approach that can make all of the difference. For some women, those strategies can be exercises and movement. For others, it's learning about how to manage pressure in this canister that is our core and pelvic floor, or breathing and daily movement habits. Good pelvic floor PT, it feels collaborative and honest, not clinical and intimidating. If you've been putting it off, this is me telling you it is worth going. Support garments like we offer, they're not a cure for pelvic pressure or prolapse. I want to be really upfront about that. But for a lot of women, they make an incredible difference for long days, during workouts, during travel, during any stretch of time when you feel that you want that extra support and to help mitigate those symptoms and not have them be top of mind. The way I like to think about it is like an ankle brace. So if you've sprained your ankle and you wear, and this is my arm, but you sprain your ankle and you wear a brace, that brace, it does not fix the underlying injury, but it gives you that counter pressure and stability so that you can actually move throughout your day while you're healing and then mitigate those symptoms. Support garments work in a really similar way. They are one tool in your toolbox alongside with things like pelvic floor PT, alongside with conversations that you're having with your provider to just help bring it into this holistic approach to help you care for yourself and for your pelvic floor. We have a woman, Margaret, who's in her late 60s and she's been in our community for a while. She described it this way: I feel more normal every day. I almost forget about my prolapse when I'm wearing them. They're very comfortable. I love them. That kind of relief matters. Not feeling like your symptoms are the loudest thing in the room, that matters. If pelvic pressure has been quietly affecting your comfort, your movement, or just how present you feel in your day, I hope that this helped. You don't have to keep just pushing through it, and you don't have to figure it all out at once. But getting more information, starting to pay attention to your patterns, finding the right support for your body, that is a great place to start. I'll link that free symptom tracker in the description below, along with some other videos that might help depending on where you are right now. Take good care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.